Good evening, everyone. Would you please rise and join us for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Here.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Here.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Here.
Councilman Marcocha?
Here.
Supervisor Calavita?
Here. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We have our opportunity to address the board on an agenda item. Anyone care to participate? Yes. Yes. This, but only on an agenda item. You can speak. Are you here regarding? Oh, okay. All right. All right, because we are. If you're here to comment regarding the field issue, this would be the time, because it's on the agenda. All right. Just so we're clear. Just give us your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Kristen Smith. I'm a resident of 46 Elm Rock Road in Bronxville. Once again, my name is Kristen Smith, and I'm here as a board member of Tuckahoe Youth Association, as well as a resident of the Village of Bronxville in the town of Eastchester. I have two boys, ages 11 and 12, who play baseball for TYA. TYA as an organization believes that children ages 4 through 12 years old who go to public or private school in our town should be able to play recreational sports run by our volunteer organization. Many of the children who attend the private schools in our town, including ICS, Chapel, and St. Joe's, are part of church communities, and we believe that fostering these kinds of relationships and connections with our local houses of worship leads to a more diverse and fulfilling community experience for our Eastchester kids, including my own. These families are also important contributors to our local economy and to the spirit and energy of our towns. They shop in our stores, they celebrate special occasions in our restaurants, they volunteer in our communities with community service projects, and I personally believe that they should be able to be on the ball fields with us too. TYA does support and understand the town's position that children who are not residents of the town of Eastchester or do not attend private schools in the town of Eastchester should not be able to participate in sports programs utilizing town resources. We understand the frustrations that violations of this policy in the past have caused. Non-resident numbers, just to give you perspective, for TYA are not overwhelmingly large. Approximately 45 kids across 5 baseball divisions. This is basically about 1.5 kids per team. We're not even creating a new team per division because of this number of children. I would also like to mention that ICS has, for the past 12 years, if not longer, given us access to their field in exchange for TYA maintaining the field. This has been a wonderful relationship between us and ICS over the years. We will potentially lose access to this field if ICS kids are not allowed to play in our league. This loss makes little sense if we are experiencing a shortage of field space, and maybe by fostering a better relationship with local churches and their school programs, we could even expand field access and reduce the strain on our existing fields, which I know is an issue. Each year, TYA has submitted our rosters to the town, and we have always understood this to include the private school children under age 12. Any non-residents that were also not in our local schools, we did turn away as per what we thought was the policy. For TYA, we do not currently have a field shortage. We've always been able to sustain our program with the use of beautiful Labriola Park, which I am incredibly proud of, and I've really enjoyed the partnership that we've had in our opening day last year when we did some renovations. We also, on a limited basis, use Cottle, Chester Heights, and ICS fields. We can easily accommodate the roughly 45 kids who attend private schools in our town, but are non-residents and are interested in our baseball programs. Some of them are here tonight. Finally, just speaking to you as a mother and a resident in this community, I've seen children overwhelmed by screen time, video games, and mental health issues post-pandemic. If we could get just a few more young children, 12 and under, off their screens and out there on the ball fields this spring, I think it would be a win-win for all of us who are parenting through this time. Tonight, I am pleading with you to please let these children play with us and find a reasonable compromise in this proposed residency policy to allow children under 12 who attend private schools in our community to participate in our youth sports programs, as they make our baseball community so much stronger and more rewarding for all of us, including me and my own children. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. Yes.
Good evening. Like a little show and tell, may I use this?
Sure.
Set it on here.
Just state your name and address.
Sure. My name is Preston Fluang. I live in Fleetwood, 34 Burkwood Road. I've seen everybody here a few times now. What I would like to do is first thank Kristen for that amazing, her thoughts there. And what I think what this does is illustrate those a little bit. What I was able to do is garner the total registration numbers through both ELL as well as TYA. That's represented in the full pie chart there. What you see illustrated in the orange is actually the non-resident, non-school affiliated kids within those leagues. So that represents a good portion, which I can understand there could be capacity as well as some other issues with. But as you see, there's a small percentage, maybe 6, maybe 7% of the total registrants from the leagues that or from the schools that we're talking about here, the 3 individual schools, ICS, St. Joe's, as well as Chapel. That represents about 75 to 80 kids total. Again, this is not an additional team situation. This is maybe 1 or 2 kids per team that the league would allow. So what I wanted to illustrate first was that, and this just following up is just the equivalent of the total non-affiliated versus Chapel schools. So 75% of the problem will be eliminated by purely just adhering to the as-is Little League rules, meaning if you have no school affiliation and you're not a resident of the league, it's pretty plain and simple. You can't play. 75% of the problem is immediately out the door with just adhering to those rules. Keeping these 6-7% of kids in the league, I don't believe, as we've heard, should be a capacity issue. I also spoke with Iona a couple times this week. They have offered to partner with us for field time. I can attest to a lot of people who live near there. Their fields have not been used adequately since Concordia. So there's a lot of opportunity to both expand our field presence as well as accommodate these very few children who fall within the rules as were kind of understood originally. So again, as Kristen, I'm hoping to draw upon some sympathy and empathy for these kids and allow to basically just adhere to the existing Little League rules, which would hopefully, we wouldn't have to worry about a grandfather clause, because looking at the numbers, 75 to 80 kids should be easily absorbed in these 2 leagues. So that was it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening, and thank you very much for your time. My name is Joe Splain. This is my son, Joey. We live at 101 Boulder Trail, which is Bronxville Post Office in Yonkers. I just want to speak very briefly, or hopefully briefly, about a personal experience. I grew up in Yonkers. I attended St. Joe's School. I went there in the late 70s. I graduated in 1987. I participated in Yonkers programs for the most part. I played basketball at St. Joseph's. My parents eventually bought a house in Bronxville. They still live in Bronxville to this day. I have brothers that live in Bronxville and Tuckahoe. All of us growing up knew pretty much no one from Bronxville because of attending St. Joe's, and then we attended high school either in the Bronx or in Manhattan. My son, Joey, because of BYLA, TYA, as you can see, Eastchester Blue Devils, literally knows probably all of Tuckahoe Middle School, Bronxville Middle School, and Eastchester, and can walk through the towns. He runs into people in his grades, 7th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th, 8th grade. And that is something that I feel like yourselves, the politicians in Bronxville and the politicians in Tuckahoe, all should be proud of and should look at as a sense of community. You guys have built something here, whether it was intended or not, that is something that should be a model. And please, 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 don't break that. Don't bust that up. And honestly, my son is pretty much done with the process. He actually was a beneficiary of it, and I hope that you allow all these young kids to be able to also benefit from that sense of community that you guys have fostered here. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Hello again, Stephen LaBanca, 10 Meadow Avenue West, Bronxville, 10708. Thank you very much for the time. My concern about this, Eastchester Little League Board are the biggest violators.
Wait, Steve.
Of this.
You
I'm
can't
sorry,
pull-
you're on the board. I know,
pull
I'm
out,
sorry.
Pull out all the residents here.
I know, I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm sorry. It's a personal issue with me when Nicholas, my son, all right, 10 years old. 10 years old. Beautiful kid. Great, high honors. He made the district team. Made the district team. When the game was ready to play, he was on the bench. He was the #1 pitcher in the league throughout the entire year. Slugging percentage over 500. He was amazing on the field. You sit him on the bench. I'm in the outfield with all their parents. It's like, Steve, where's your son? I go, I don't know. I walk to the backstop to see my son in tears. His chin is in his hands. He's like, Dad, I don't know. I don't know why. I'm like, what is going on here? And 4 innings into it, they're not playing him. And I'm like, all right, something's going on. So I call Ian, the coach, later on. I say, Ian, what's going on? Can you help me discipline my son? Did he do something? Let me help him. He said, no, Steve, this is just we're rotating players in. I said, Ian, don't you want to win the game? Isn't this district, aren't you going to go represent Tony in Eastchester and show what you're capable of and the power that Eastchester could bring? I'm like, why wouldn't you play my son? And my son was in tears, and it ruined him. And I was okay with it. That's fine. But when Eastchester Little League is going about bringing pockets of kids from Mount Vernon and the Bronx and sprinkling them in on teams, knowing that they're family members and friends, and everyone's hush-hush, the board is all in compliance. There's no debate at the meetings. I've been here for 7 years. There's no debate. Tony, lift up the hood. See what's going on over here. It's not all, what you've seen. And Anthony, I'm sorry, it has nothing to do with you. I love you and your family. You guys are great. It's what is happening to my kids that is disturbing to me. And I just want to get that point across on there. But I've been a fiduciary for Merrill Lynch on Wall Street for 25 years. I've been in compliance. I don't go outside the lines. Take a look at what's going on in ELM. That's what I want to say. Thank you.
Well, on that subject matter, with regard to the leagues, Received several emails from people that were upset about the travel program or this or that, and we are not getting involved with the organization or the running of the leagues unless there's a crime being committed, a destruction of town property, or something substantial. We're not going to run the leagues. We don't do that. We provide them with a field. They do their thing, and with regard to travel versus league versus who gets on it, how many, we don't want to know about that. We're just here to get them some space to play on. And with regard to, a couple of the issues that were raised, we have received no offers from any fields, of 4 fields or 4 gyms from anyone, including the local schools. TYA does use, Mrs. Smith was correct, Chester Heights, Cottle, and Handle Field for that matter. And I guess ICS probably recently, because I know for the longest time we weren't permitted on ICS Field, even though we built that field when Father Rasser was there years ago, among many other things that we had done for ICS that were unrecognized. Also, everyone seems to be focusing on Little League rules, and we are not bound by Little League rules. I have a letter from Little League International telling us that, and telling the leagues that what we are doing is completely permissible, that the leagues are not penalized, there's no forfeiture of district play or statewide play or anything like that. We are completely within our rights, which is the law for that matter. Also, quoting 78 or 75 or 80 kids that are from, they're in TYA program and in the Eastchester Little League program is a decent number, but you're also not remembering that we also have the Blue Devil program. We have the Blue Devil lacrosse program. We have the Tuckahoe Football League, the Bronxville Football League. We have the Bronxville Youth Lacrosse Association. We have a 1,600-person soccer league. And when you factor these percentages, extrapolate them over these leagues, and some of them are a lot more, some are a lot less, that's what we're dealing with. And it's not an insignificant number, not at all. We also are going to have Leewood Park is going to be out of commission this year because we're reconstructing the park. It is possible Chester Heights may not be in play. We lost Scout Field from the county, so we are in a significant crunch here. And nobody is trying to bring any harm upon any child or do anything like that. We are sympathetic for all the kids. We also appreciate the patronage in the town, but this is not about that. This is just about accommodating residents on fields that they pay for. That's what this is about. And I will also say that we had prepared a resolution. We did not go with it last week. We've made changes to it. We listened to what a lot of people had to say about their experiences, about what they wanted. We also got some emails, some calls. I got a lot of calls, actually, from people within the leagues telling me, what was really going on, which I appreciated. And we also are sympathetic to the kids that may not be able to, finish out their tenure in the league. So I think what we collectively agreed upon was that we are going to enforce the non-resident program with regard to the field use by youth sports, with the exception, or 2 exceptions actually. The first is for the public school kids, because that's a condition of us having access to the public school gyms and the fields. And that number is an extremely small number. I think that number was reduced recently, as a matter of fact. But also, the other exception is any young person that is going into their last year of play, whether it be Little League, TYA, Blue Devil, whether you're 12 or 13, if it's your last season, you can complete your last season in 2024. That will give 22, 23, and 24 for the kids at large. I think that's a reasonable thing to do. I think it's a good compromise. And, the other issues we have, to be very honest with you, and I'm not casting any aspersions at the leagues, but, we don't want to make the same mistake again by entrusting the policing of the non-resident enrollment with the organizations that created the problem in the first place. That would be foolish of us. And secondly, opening up the enrollment to all of the private schools, gives us now probably 800 more potential registrants, which is exactly what the problem is. And no, as I mentioned repeatedly, I was an IHM person. Just because I didn't play in Scarsdale Little League didn't mean I wasn't friends with my IHM, buddies. And I had no expectation of playing in the Scarsdale Little League because the school was in Scarsdale. I lived in Eastchester, and it was that simple. And there's a Hillcrest League, there's a Mount Vernon League, there's tons of leagues around for the kids to play in. And, another factor that we may not be prepared for, and that's what if Hillcrest closes up, or Mount Vernon stops its program, or, for whatever reason there's an issue, we're going to absorb everybody all over again. So in that regard, I tend to believe that's going to be the direction we're going to head. That's what the resolution says. And I appreciate everyone's comments. I appreciate the fact that people that were non-residents have supported the leagues, have worked in the leagues, have done for the leagues. But this is the point where, we made this proclamation in 2022. It is now going to be the 2024 spring and summer season, and we still have the same issue. So we've gone a long while with it. We're going to change it now, and I think that's the best thing for us to do. As a matter of fact, maybe we should move the matter up. This is on correspondence matter 8F. That I would be prepared to review now. And basically, there are some whereases here with regarding the, the fields and all the history here, but the important parts are that effective immediately, residents only shall be eligible to participate or enroll in the youth sports, recreation programs, or camps that use town-owned fields and facilities by permit issued by the town for said use, or school-owned fields permitted to the town by the districts. And non-resident students from Eastchester, Tucker, and Bronxville shall be eligible for participation in enrollment, provided the school asks for it, and there's no diminution in the amount of time that the schools give us for their fields and for their gyms. Proof of residency shall be in a form that's deemed sufficient by the Recreation Department, and any violation of this shall result in a temporary or permanent suspension of town-issued permits for the violating league or program for a period of time to be determined by the Superintendent of Recreation. And any non-resident entering his or her last year of eligibility and who has been previously enrolled in that youth sport or recreation program or league or camp may enroll for the upcoming 2024 league or program. After the 2024 season ends, this eligibility shall cease and expire without further notice to any of the players. And that is our resolution. Any of the board members want to make any comments? All right, there being none, someone care make a motion to approve this resolution as submitted?
So moved. Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Markon?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Okay, that's the end of that process. Next, we have any further opportunities to address the board on anything else on our agenda? Yes. Yeah, you just have to come to the mic. People at home can't hear you.
First was on just the field time issue. Has anybody on this board reached out to Iona?
No, and it's not our obligation to do that.
Okay, just a question. Okay, because I have on a couple occasions. They have a giant field directly in the middle of town, brand new facilities. They have not heard from anybody.
No, in
And can I just finish, please?
Of course.
They only require a schedule, time and schedule, which the leagues can easily provide, and they would happily shuffle us in. That hasn't ever been provided to them. So the lengths to which these capacity issues are being addressed are very minimal, it seems, and easily attainable. And the 600 new applicant number, again, I have trouble with these numbers. That's why I put together the charts, because we were trying to stay specific. I understand if there's more leagues, but if you extrapolated those numbers, I can guarantee you that you're not finding more than 10% of that entire registrants, whether if it's 5,000 or 500 that meet those requirements. These three schools are not massive schools. We're not talking about 2,000, 3,000 student bodies. We're talking maybe 15, 30, let's say 30% of the school population plays sports at a maximum. I don't think it's anywhere near than that. that capacity, if every one of those kids from those 3 schools played with those sports, would still not meet that kind of criteria. So I don't know where the new 600 registrants came from with those 3 schools, because that would literally be the entire student bodies of nearly 2 of those schools and half of the other one. So I want to get very specific about the numbers. We're only talking about 3 schools that were within the district with very limited student bodies, as well as a capacity issue that no one seems to have really addressed. So those are very simple issues, and when it was talking about the Little League, it was only referencing a very simple rule set that the entire nation goes by, that this entire city or town thought was implemented. We now found that it wasn't. I have not been able to find the regulation you're talking about that you said existed when you played. I did reach out to your old school, Scarsdale. They said that they would happily allow their kids to play within their leagues. So I'm really not understanding the pushback on the very simple aspect that there is not a capacity issue if it's being addressed properly, especially with a minimal percentage of these kids from these 3 very small schools.
I don't think it's that minimal. You already cited 75 to 80 kids in just those 2 leagues.
Correct.
Right, that's a lot of kids.
Let's just,
and you start multiplying that out.
That's roughly 1,000 kids. Let's just numbers really quickly. 1,000 kids roughly in those 2 leagues. 10% of that's 100 kids, let's say. You said that there's how many other leagues? There's 2,000 other kids in other leagues. That's another 300 kids total. That's 10 and 3,000 kids total. You're talking 300 from those schools. There's not 300 kids that play sports in those schools. So those numbers they can't be extrapolated that way. You have to look at each individual school. There's how many kids at Chapel, how many kids at St. Joe's, how many kids at ICS, how many is our maximum capacity if every one of those kids who is willing to play sports joined our league. I can guarantee you it's nowhere near that capacity.
I don't know.
Right now, right? Right now, that's the number, right? What happens in 2 years,
Okay,
right?
have you seen Chapel School?
Let me
It's
talk.
about the size of this building.
All right, let me talk first, all right?
Go ahead.
Right now, that's the number today, 2024, right?
Correct.
We're into 2026.
You're expecting growth, but the growth has
All right,
to be
let me just
within
complete.
capacity.
Listen, let me talk.
Please.
Well, 2026, 27, 28, this expands, right? As other leagues maybe don't expand and they continue to come
Student
into
bodies don't
Eastchester.
expand. That's a static number.
the percentage-
unless they build another school, those student body numbers don't change.
The percentage-
So the growth doesn't change.
The percentage of the student body that's playing may change, right? Maybe it won't, maybe it will.
The percentage is an equivalent of the student bodies as well. We're saying 10% of this specific group was 75, 80 kids. You can't take 10% and apply it to 10,000 kids because there aren't that many kids in those schools.
Right,
so you need to have both numbers.
What if that goes from 10 to 20% next year, right?
Then you have to still look at, then it doesn't matter because there's not enough kids in those schools to fill that percentage. Do you understand how that math works?
Yes, it's very simple, math.
Yeah, but also,
I don't think you
you're
are.
flippantly just saying, okay, well, the soccer league has 1,600 kids in it.
I'm trying
If
to
there's
extrapolate
10%,
numbers.
If there's
How many
10%, that's
total
160 kids. Okay,
Correct.
add that to your 75 with TYA and Little League. Add that to the probably 60, 70 kids in Bluedale.
That's what
Keep
we're trying to
adding it up. Divide it by the number of hours that these people need for field
You
space
can't
and
add
time,
those numbers
and now you're
because
dead.
those are more than the student bodies of those schools.
Another thing interesting, I find a little disingenuous, is that you're okay with non-residents not using the fields for the town permitted fields, but it's
Non-resident,
okay
non-school affiliated.
that non-residents that just happen to go to
Non-resident,
Chapel
non-school
School can
affiliated.
use
Let's
it.
be specific.
Yeah.
Non-resident, non-school affiliated kids. That's
Yeah.
very specific, and that's been the rules that everybody's understood forever.
No, not forever. That's the whole point. It's not been forever. It's not been at all.
Okay, you keep
And
referencing what rule?
has
Where is
been-
this rule? What rule?
One example of the rule, we just went through it. That's the rule,
No,
right
that you
there.
said that was implemented when you were a kid.
Yes.
Where is that rule?
I don't know. I don't have a copy of it.
You
But
don't
that's-
because it doesn't exist.
Of course it exists.
Where?
You think I'm going to go back to 1955
Where?
recreation files
I
and
don't
find
think you
them?
have it.
They've been gone.
Okay, I spoke.
Preston, at the end of the
I
day-
think you need to look
listen,
at two numbers:
listen.
the student body numbers and the percentage numbers. You can't extrapolate percentages based on numbers if you don't take into account the student body numbers.
And there's another issue too, Preston, you're missing, and that's who's going to police all of this? Is our
gonna police
recreation
it in the first
department
place?
is going to go
Same
through
people
all
who
of
are gonna
this
police it in the
and
first
check the
place.
names that the leagues aren't putting in other kids and saying they're going to Chapel?
That's what most of the directors say they spend most of their time doing. Didn't you say you spent most of your time doing that when you were working
When
with them?
I coached my son in the league, yes.
All volunteer.
That was the obligation.
All volunteer.
Okay, you're going to volunteer for
Yes.
all the leagues?
Yes.
Yeah, sure you are. Not
I
going
will.
to happen.
Right now. I'll run, I guarantee I can run it.
And with all due respect, it really should be a person that works for the town government so that there's no issues.
Hire me.
Yeah, we can't afford your rate, unfortunately. But the
Work
point
for
is,
free.
the point is this, very simply, is that we have to police this. We have to deal with expansion
I'll
of
police
numbers.
it.
It's so simple just to say,
I'll
okay.
get you Iona.
We're now in our
else?
third year of grandfathering these kids. The most senior kids can play out, and that's it. That's it. I'm sorry, I cut you off. No, I don't think so. I think a residency lesson needs to be had. In any event, that's that. We're moving on with the agenda. Anyone else on any other agenda item? There being none, we'll move on to the agenda. We have appointments for the zoning board. This is for the appointment of Paul Weber of Tudor Lane to the position of zoning board of appeals effective March 5th, 2024 through December 31st, 2026. Someone care to make a motion on Paul?
So moved.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcoccia?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
I want to thank Mark DeMarco for his decades-long support and involvement with the Zoning Board of Appeals. They did an excellent job, and it's very tough to get qualified people on. I know Paul's going to do a great job, but Mark did an exceptional job, always very temperamental, always very much in control, handling all the facts beautifully. So thank you, Mark, for all your help. Okay, next is in the Controller's Office, here the position of probationary appointment, I should say, of Brian Donovan to the position of Junior Accountant. At the March 5th meeting, we're going to put Mr. Donovan on. Brian has successfully passed the civil service exam. His name appears on the Westchester County Civil Service List, 6222. His starting date will be March 8th, an annual salary of $77,811. That's CSEA Grade 7, Step 8, Schedule 3. He will be required to serve a probationary period, which will run not less than 12 weeks and not more than 52 weeks. And funds, of course, have been in our budget. So someone care to make a motion on the appointment of Brian Donovan? So moved.
Second.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcoccia?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have the reports of departments, boards, and commissions. Mr. Rader, Law Department report.
Yes, good evening. First, I have a resolution authorizing the supervisor to execute and deliver a purchase agreement between the town of Eastchester and HPE Huntington Power in relation to the purchase and installation of a new generator in the amount of $98,186.94.
Yeah, the generator at Handle Field crapped out, basically. And, rather than pay the New York State Power Authority or Con Ed, we want to put the generator back in because it runs on natural gas. It's extremely inexpensive, and it powers up the building and the lights. And it may, if we make a move to put in LED lights, which I think is one of the next things we'll do to improve Handle Field, they'll be able to handle that load well. And, it's a good thing to have. And also remind everybody, too, that we are part of an ESCO, so we get our natural gas feed at a very discounted rate. So I think this is an excellent idea, and I'll make the motion on this and ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcoccia?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Another expenditure for the benefit of one of the fields. Mr. Rader?
Yes. Next, I have a resolution authorizing the town board to engage the services of John Sarcone Esquire to serve as counsel regarding various legal matters, and be it further resolved that John Sarcone Esquire will be compensated at the rate of $225 per hour for partners, $170 an hour for associates, and $75 an hour for paralegals.
So moved.
Second?
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcoccia?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have the approval of minutes of the February 6, 2024 meeting. Any proposed modifications or amendments? No, there being none, I'll make a motion to approve same as submitted. Ask for a second.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcoccia?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Okay, anything further in the clerk's report for January?
No,
No?
nothing.
Okay, we'll receive that and file that. We also now, we tabled the police department report. That should be at the next meeting. So we're going to move to correspondence. So we have a memorandum from the controller on personnel appointment. We have a single person, part-timer in highway. I'll make the motion. Ask for a second, please.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next is a memorandum from the Controller on procurement policy. These are officials responsible for purchasing decisions, and of course, we're adding Mr. Giacobbe to the list. And I think that's really the only change other than Mr. Dooley becoming, instead of town council, he's going to town clerk. So I'll make the motion to approve same as submitted. Ask for a second.
Second.
Please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye, and don't you guys get any crazy ideas or anything, all right? Next, you have the memorandum from the Director of the Eastchester Public Library on the restroom alterations, and we are converting both public bathrooms, one on each floor, into ADA-compliant restrooms. We have ADA compliance, but it was a little bit, it wasn't as best we could do. We had ADA compliance with regard to the facilities, but, had to go around long paths, and the facilities could have been improved, and that's what we're doing now. So the low bid was submitted by Suburban Contracting Corp. in the amount of $199,152, and the project is being funded by the New York State Construction Grant and also the Eastchester Public Library general budget. Anyone care to make a motion?
So moved. Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have a memorandum from the Superintendent of Recreation on the EPACT agreement, and simply this is really more of a software and convenience package. It's for this recreation department will set up custom electronic health record management, waiver management, custom consents, all kinds of stuff that they can share with the health department, because we have to get everything from the campers and from the counselors and farm it all to the Department of Health. Also, we can do email and one-way text messaging for emergencies. There's also automated messages for members, so it's, it's a pretty good tool. And I think it's, probably a good idea because we have 800 campers and at least 200 staff. So there's quite a lot going on there, so I think this is a good idea. And it's only $4,550. So I'll make the motion on this. Ask for a second, please.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have a memorandum from the Superintendent of Recreation regarding the 2024 municipal contribution to Southeast Consortium. And the Southeast Consortium is an entity that does recreation and programming for special needs kids and kids with disabilities. So they have not raised their rate in 15 years. So they're asking for a modest 5% increase. So they're, if you factor that out, it's 0.3% increase over the last 15 years. So they've done very well by us. And, if we were to try and do our own recreation and programming for disabled kids or kids with special needs, it would be extraordinarily expensive, and we just wouldn't be able to do it. So to have Southeast Consortium work with us is a great thing. And I also want to thank Jennifer Kind, who is the executive director there, that really does a great job at this. There are other consortiums around the county. We are in the southeast because of where Eastchester is, but it's a good idea and certainly necessary. So the total amount is $30,015.30 for the services that they will provide for the disabled in Eastchester, Bronxville, and Tuckahoe. Someone care to make a motion?
So moved.
Second.
All right, please call the roll.
Councilman Giacobbe?
Aye.
Councilwoman Nicholson?
Aye.
Councilwoman Marcotte?
Aye.
Councilman Marcocha?
Aye.
Supervisor Colavita?
Aye. Next, we have miscellaneous business. There being none, we move to council member reports. Councilman Marcocha.
Thank you, Supervisor. On February 25th, both the boys and girls senior varsity boys and girls teams, basketball teams, were in the semifinals. This is for Tuckahoe, and it was at the county center. Unfortunately, the boys lost, but the girls won. And the very next week, the Tuckahoe varsity girls played once again at the county center, and they won, and they are the Section 1 Class C champions. So I wanted to congratulate them. I happened to be able to go to the February 20, the semifinal games, and they were both awesome games. And I want to congratulate the girls for their championship win. Also, some Lake Isle news. The Lake Isle season is right around the corner. Membership applications have been mailed out to all Eastchester, Tuckahoe, and Bronxville residents, so everyone should be receiving one this week. You can also download one at www.lakeislecountryclub.com. You can also apply through that website. The membership registration will begin on Monday, April 1st. Office hours will be from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Monday through Friday, and 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. on weekends. Golf opening day will be determined towards the end of this month. An update will be given at the next town board meeting, and an email blast will be going out to all of the Lake Isles 2023 golf members. So anyone that has an email on file, they'll be notified of the opening day. And then finally, I wanted to announce that the first advisory board meeting of the year for Lake Isle is scheduled for Wednesday, April 3rd at 7 p.m. at the Community Center at Lake Isle. And that concludes my report.
Thank you. Councilwoman Nicholson.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. Good evening, everyone. Another big shout out for the Tuckahoe schools. The Tuckahoe varsity cheerleading team made history this past weekend by winning the school's first New York State championship for cheerleading. The team outperformed top contenders from across the state at the New York State Public High School Athletic Association championships. They also were the Section 1 champions and earned third place at the UCA Cheer National Championships in Disney World. And just to piggyback on the Tuckahoe varsity girls who did win their third consecutive Section 1C title this past Sunday, which I actually got to witness, and it was a great game, and that was against Alexander Hamilton High School. And this Thursday, if you have some time, they're playing Millbrook this Thursday in Class C regional final at the Beacon High School. And for our Blue Devil cheerleaders, the 8U and 10U, they came home as national champions from the Battle of the Boardwalk competition held in Atlantic City this past January. And it was a tough competition, and the girls gave it their all to come out on top. And so we give a big shout out for the Blue Devils cheerleaders. And also it's a big, congratulations to all of these incredible female athletes on their amazing success, and we wish the best of luck to Tuckahoe girls basketball team in the regional final. And that is all I have. Thank you.
Councilwoman Marcotte.
Thank you, Supervisor. I certainly would join my colleagues here in congratulating the Tuckahoe ladies. Way to go on both the varsity basketball as well as the cheerleaders. We are certainly very proud of you. I know the whole town is proud of you. Just a couple of things I want to mention. The Village of Bronxville, 2 weeks from today, will be hosting their annual election. I believe there are 2 trustees that will be on the ballot. Many of you will recall that the Village of Tuckahoe moved their elections to November. If you would like to participate in the election on March 19th, the last day to register to vote is March 8th, and that is either by mail or in person at the Board of Elections. And then following that is the presidential primary. That's going to be on April 2nd. The last day to register for the presidential primary is March 23rd. So a couple of dates coming up. There will be 23 voting sites throughout the county for early voting, and that is also going to be starting March 23rd, and that's going to run through Saturday, March 30th. There'll be no voting on Easter Sunday, no voting the day after, and again, the presidential primary will be on April 2nd. And if you had any questions, you can always call the Board of Elections at 995-5700. And then lastly, I just wanted to mention the parade is this Sunday. That is the St. Patrick's Day Parade. I want to give a shout out to the Grand Marshal, John Fix. Congratulations. And Patty George and Billy George, they are the honorees this year, a couple that has done a tremendous amount of work for the Irish over the past 20 years, I think. So congratulations to all of the honorees in the Grand Marshal, and I hope to see everybody out there on the parade route. It steps off at 3 o'clock from ICS, and it marches down Mill Road. So hopefully a great St. Patrick's Day event for everybody, and that concludes my report, Supervisor.
Hopefully it doesn't rain.
And you said it was going to be a great day.
I think it is. I'm telling you, I'm putting money on that. The over-under is good for good weather. So Councilman Giacobbe.
Thank you, Mr. Supervisor. From the library, this weekend is film weekend at the library. Saturday at 2 p.m., they will be showing a film called IP Man. Then Sunday at 2 p.m. is the Oscars party. They're showing a film called The Holdovers, which is an Oscar-nominated film. Something we talked about last week at the last library meeting, take advantage of the free museum passes that they have on the Eastchester Library website. You can go on the website, eastchesterlibrary.org, and click museum passes, and there's over 20 museums listed, anywhere from the Greenberg Nature Center to the Intrepid. You can go on there and get free passes. Some you get digitally, some you have to go to the library and pick them up and take advantage of that. That's thanks to the Friends of the Library for offering that program for free. From our Parks and Recreation Department, the EIBL Finals is this Saturday, March 9th at the Eastchester High School Gym. 11 a.m. is the senior boys, 12:30 p.m. senior girls, and 2 p.m. is the junior boys. Summer camp registration opens March 16th at 10 a.m. Go to the Parks and Recreation section on the town website and click Summer Camps 2024 to set up an account if you don't have one already. And save the date, March 23rd from 10 a.m. to 12:30 for the photo op with the Easter Bunny at the Handle Recreation Room. This is a drop-in event. You can just go and show up. Hopefully you'll be in and out of there in 15 to 20 minutes. I just want to say one last thing. Hopefully it is it with the field situation. You know, Eastchester is a small town. We have a small, tight budget. The town board and the controller does a great job managing those money. You know, these fields, the priority has to be for the taxpayers to use these fields. We have a small parks department that takes care of them for us, and I think it's important that our residents who are coaches, you know, get first access to these fields. You know, I heard a lot that there's not a field problem. I can tell you firsthand as a coach, there is. You know, there's a very small window for coaches to leave work and go coach teams to help develop our players. And you know, that field may not be used at 3 p.m. every day, but from 4:30 till 7 o'clock, there's a lot of competition for those fields, and a lot of kids that live here don't get practice time because of that. So hopefully that's a little better this year. I know we're losing Leewood, but hopefully a new resolution we pass helps that. So that concludes my report.
Thank you. For my own report, I really don't have much to add. It's the advantage of going last. Everyone kind of covered what I wanted to cover, so I'll be judicious and move on to the second opportunity to address the board.
Sean Nayless, 24 Crawford. I don't know if you want my opinion on the fields, but I agree with you guys.
Thank you.
But about the Crawford Street project, just wondering if there's any updates.
Not really. I mean, Joe Tremelli, our engineer, met with AJ. AJ's trying to finish his end so that we can take his end and tie it into our end. We have one little glitch, and it's about payment, because the state has a law that says if you're on the ground level of the project, you cannot be the engineering. You can't be the engineer for the actual job itself. So Mr. Tremelli has advised us that, you know, we need to do something about that. We got to figure out how we're going to handle it. You know, he has done preliminary work. I don't think I would categorize his work as, you know, job work, so to speak. So we're believing, our belief is that we can retain him to do the final set without having any penalization, because we had, you know, the grant funds that were, you know, going to get, you know, used for his fees against him, us paying him directly. So that's the only little technical thing we got to work out before he goes and knocks his stuff out. But he works with AJ all the time. He's in, he's ready, they're going, they're moving. So I don't have any, you know, definitive thing. But all the survey stuff has all been done. They've got paper survey, which is great, not so much electronic, which Joe needs to do his work. So he's going to start, you know, with his end as soon as we get this little glitch worked out.
Okay. Any of those surveys available to us, or?
Yeah, probably. I'm sure. Well, if it's intra-government, I'm not sure, but probably at some point it would be.
Okay.
And his work product is too. So, you know, it's a foilable thing.
Excellent. Thank you.
You got it. Okay, Sean. Thank you.
Good evening. Dennis Convery, 18 Ampel Drive. Quick comment here. Appreciate everybody's attention over the past couple of years of the non-residency issue. I believe that you are not going to find a solution to this problem until you address the core of the issue, which is the proliferation of travel teams, especially within Eastchester Little League. You talked earlier, Councilman Jacoby, you talked about the competition between 4:30 and 7 o'clock at night. As an example, I know that the 12U softball program was prematurely shut down this year, right? Then reopened to in line with everything else. Yet I've heard that the number of teams, essentially the draft has been had, the number of teams remained at 4, which means that you're going to have about 14, possibly 15 kids on each team. On the website, they've disclosed that any rec player should expect an hour of practice a week and a game on the weekend. Yet there has been already tryouts. I think the team has already been named for an introduction of a travel softball team that needed to make the commitment of practicing 3 times a week if they were to try out for the team. Because if you made the team, you had to commit that kind of time. So the proliferation of the travel teams inside of Eastchester Little League is creating an outward pressure on the scheduling, right? And that's where a majority of this noise is coming from. I'll leave it at that. I know you guys are beating it down to from the other perspective. To me, coming from the inside, being a manager in Eastchester Little League the last 4 years, I've seen the effects of the policies in action. That's exactly where you got to be looking if you wanted to fix your problem.
As the supervisor said last time, listen, the leagues can run the program the way they want it, the way it sees fit, right? Every year is going to change, right? Some years the travel team may benefit the league, and it benefits a lot of players here that live in town, right? When they go on to high school and college, right, we're seeing the benefits of these
But how
different
is that a
programs.
matter of public policy, right? The Little Leagues traditionally are an instrument of public policy. Public policy, is coming from a town standpoint, should have no regard of how well you do in beat softball or in high school or beyond. It's about the growth and maturation of our youth, right? All of our youth, right? And so when my kid, who pays the same $200 as the travel kid who pays $200, but that travel kid gets 4 uniforms, gets to practice 4 or 5 times a week, and my kid gets 1 uniform and got to play 4 games, 2 of which didn't even have a paid umpire show up because somebody couldn't get a schedule together.
Well, again, as he said and I said, we're not going to get involved in the day-to-day operations of the
Totally
league.
get it.
But know this also, like with regard to the expansion of programs, we don't give the Little League any more time that they had customarily and historically received.
Agreed.
So that may put a little squeeze on some other components, but that's up to the league to work out. You know what I
Agreed.
mean?
But it's the board of directors that is signing off essentially on this scheduling.
Because see, what happened was when years ago, and I guess when my kids first started playing, that's when it really took off. They were doing spring Little League and then fall Little League after the summertime. And then soccer went both seasons, and then they have a summer program. Now lacrosse, they're the only group that really hasn't started it. We tried to get a little lacrosse thing going up at Handle Field, just the kids throw the ball around, but it became so packed we had to stop doing it. So that also is another issue where, at least if a lot of tournament play is going on and the tournament teams, the travel teams are around, at least the kids are also playing in the fall and in the summertime. So I'm not sure if the summertime league is still around or if it's just tournament play. It used to be there was a summertime league where it was kind of informal.
I think the issue I have...
Throw the ball around,
Excuse me, Supervisor.
Sure, of
Didn't mean
course.
to cut you off. I've got a laundry list of kind of what I would consider kind of directorial violations over the last couple of years. What's got my goat this year is they're just introducing now travel team into the spring season, right, for softball and baseball has historically been a hands-off, right? This is for the town. This is for everybody to get a chance to play. This is where the good kids play with the kids that can't play at all, right? But what they're doing, right, is they're saying, no, you guys, because we're going for District 20 championship banners, right? This is ego-driven scheduling and ego-driven management. The spring has historically been hands-off, right? You'd leave that off because a travel team naturally will cannibalize the rec team, right? In terms of resources, in terms of players, field time, etc. Summer and fall has always been an area where more aggressive coaches, right, could, hey, I want to put a team in, travel, because most kids, you don't have the influx. Most of the kids play spring, right? If you're not playing very good, you're not going to play in summer. You might play in fall. So my issue is, I think we've got less kids because of the non-residency issue coming into the program, but now we have less kids coming into the program, but somehow we can only manage 4 teams of 12U softball, but an additional travel team that can fit, which is, by the way, 3X, right? Because if a rec team kid is promised 1 hour of practice a week and a travel team kid practices 3 times a week, right? He's got 3 times, right, the resource consumption, right, as a rec team player does, right? So they're making a squeeze from the inside out. So I hear you, Supervisor. It's probably the same as it's been for 20 years, but the board isn't, right? The motivations and the pressures of society have changed. And so I believe that this is a town asset. These are town parks, right? And I believe that we do have, as a town, we have a greater responsibility to police who we give those permits to. And I know you got the board, and I know you do a job with allocating fairly, I guess, based on that level. I would encourage the board to look at more oversight measures, right? That basically review the field logs, right? Who's playing on the fields? It's very easy to do. There's a Google sheet that's maintained by Eastchester Little League that controls all of this, right? You can ask to see that. You can review that on a monthly basis. You can ask their board of directors to sign off on it on a monthly basis that it's within, 10, 15, 20, 30, whatever. Come up with a percentage. It doesn't have to drain the resources of the Parks and Recs department, right? You can get Eastchester Little League to comply if you just set up the compliance in Torque. I think that would save you a lot of headache too, in my opinion. I'd love to talk to more of the board members about it in the future. If anybody's interested, I've got, I cut my teeth in public accounting, auditing nonprofit organizations like Eastchester Little League. So I'm fully kind of versed in, what
Operations.
in operations and basically what the code of a director should be, right? So I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
I wish you the best of luck going forward. Take care.
Thank you. Good luck this season.
Eddie Reardon, 59 Joyce Road. I just want to address a couple things I heard tonight. I'm just speaking for myself. This is my 7th year on the board. We have been aggressive in adding fields to the town. Right behind us at Ann Hutch, we renovated that field, right? We renovated Waverly Field, right? Mike Vecchione has been very supportive of all this. We renovated Garth Road so it could handle more games, right? It wasn't just lipstick. We did it from the inside out. Drainage, filtration, you name it, we did it. Now, I just want to, specifically address something else to the board I heard in this room tonight is that our travel programs are a drain to the fields. I coached the 10U girls team in the fall, and my friend coached the 12U. We didn't play any home games, all right? The travel team played in New Jersey. They played on Long Island. They played in Queens. Maybe they had a practice here or there, but they did not play games here. My team, we made it to the championship game. We played in Connecticut, right? If we ever got field time with the other team we had, it would be the least desirable time, like 7 o'clock Saturday night at Handle or 5 o'clock at Chester Heights. Times nobody wants, right? So just a closing point on some people being critical of these travel programs. The last 2 years, our girls team finished top 3 in New York State. I think that speaks for itself. Thank you for everything you do.
Thank you. Thank you. All right, so I think that's about it. Oh, I'm sorry. Sure.
Mike Vecchione, 11 Maple Avenue, Eastchester Little League president. Couple things I want to touch on. Everybody left, but first with the whole residency, non-residency, I spoke to the board, Mr. Calavita, we all, our friends at TYA and us, we all had our opinions and we spoke about it, and this is it. It's a final decision at this point. As for the travel programs, Ed mentioned it, Eastchester Little League up to, well, I've only been president for 2 years now, but we've never done the travel type program in this league. Some of the district teams would stay together in the summertime, but Little League has moved away overall from the traditional rec league, which we still do and honor in the spring. And this spring there's one travel team, one 12-year-old girls team, and that's it. Summertime's a lighter schedule. Fall is a lighter schedule. putting rec programs in the summer is a little more difficult than the fall. So there's a league throughout Westchester County and Connecticut called the Greater Hudson Valley League. We put our teams in that in the summer and the fall due to not having enough kids to keep an in-house rec league strong. So there's plenty of fields. We raised $20,000 to fix up Waverly last year, another $15,000 to fix up Anheuser last year. So any money that we are fundraising for, any event that we do, all that money is going directly back into fixing up our facilities. This year, we are fixing up the batting cages down at Garth Road. We have plans to keep improving. So when my days are gone here, we leave the league in a better place than where we found it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Have a good evening. Thank you. All right. Can we make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.